Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we have been talking about various non-communicable diseases with a focus on public health or preventive measures or community medicine uh, related aspects of those non-communicable diseases. So today we will be discussing the visual impairment and blindness, another one of the non-communicable conditions and that are important. It is very hard to define blindness. The most agreed upon or the most simple definition that is there is that the blindness may be defined as a visual acuity of less than 3 by 60 on Snellen charts or its equivalent. So the blindness is when the visual acuity is less than 3 by 60. So in the table that you can see on your screens, you can see that if the visual acuity on Snellen is 6 by 18, it is labeled as moderate visual impairment. If it is 6 by 60, it is labeled as severe visual impairment. And if it goes below 3 by 60, then it is labeled as blindness. And then there are categories of blindness. It may be category 1, 2, or 3 blindness. Let us look at the epidemiology of blindness and visual impairment. In 2010, an estimated 285 million people worldwide were visually disabled. Not blind, but visually disabled. Of whom nearly 39 million were blind and 246 million were with low vision. And 90% of all these people were living in developing countries. So you can see the burden of the disease mainly is in the developing countries. Burden of visual impairment and blindness. 80% of the blindness is avoidable. It is either treatable or potentially preventable. But what happens is a large proportion of those affected remain blind for want of access to affordable eye care. There is no affordable eye care available, so the large proportion of the people who can be treated or in which the blindness can be prevented, they remain blind for the want of medical care. Blindness leads not only to reduced economic and social status but may also result in premature death. The major causes of blindness and their estimated prevalence, these are cataract, which accounts for 33%, glaucoma, which accounts for 2%, and uncorrected refractive errors, myopia, hypertropia, or astigmatism, which accounts for 43% of visual impairment. The number of people visually impaired from infectious diseases has greatly reduced in the last 20 years. Since we have been focusing on infectious diseases in the last uh, half a century or so, and we have been able to greatly reduce the incidence and prevalence of infectious diseases. Hence, the blindness associated with infectious diseases has also come down. About 82% of all the people who are visually impaired are aged 50 years and older. So visual impairment is seen more in the older age group, which are 50 years and above. And an estimated 19 million children are visually impaired as well. And of these, 12 million children are visually impaired due to refractory errors only, a condition that can be easily diagnosed and corrected. 1.4 million are irreversibly blind for the rest of their lives. So you can see that out of 19 million children who are visually impaired, the greater majority, that is 12 million, they can be treated and their visual impairment can be corrected. So the most frequent causes of blindness in developed countries are accidents, glaucoma, diabetes, vascular diseases, for example, hypertension, cataract, and degeneration of ocular tissues, especially of the retina, and also some hereditary conditions. Remember, we are talking about developed countries, and remember, we are talking about blindness here. You can see the at the top of the reasons for blindness in developed countries is accidents. In Eastern Mediterranean region, the EMRO region, the WHO EMRO region in which Pakistan is also placed, the main causes of blindness is cataract. See here, it becomes entirely different. The cataract goes to the top. It is the most frequent cause related to blindness, and it is followed by glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, refractive errors, trachoma, and childhood blindness. Also in EMRO region, the major causes of visual impairment are uncorrected refractive errors, accounting for 43% of visual impairment, and cataract again. So you can see that cataract is one of the major causes of both visual impairment and blindness in our part of the world. Let us look at some of the epidemiological determinants that are linked with visual impairment and blindness. First of all, age. At about 30% of blind in our part of the world are said to lose their eyesight before they reach the age of 20 years, and many under the age of 5 years. Refractive error, trachoma, conjunctivitis, and malnutrition, vitamin A deficiency are important causes of blindness among children and the younger age group. While cataract, refractive error, glaucoma, and diabetes are causes of blindness in middle ages. Accidents and injuries can occur in all age groups, but these are most important in the age group 20 to 40 years. The other factor that is linked to visual impairment and blindness is sex. A higher prevalence of blindness is reported in females than in males, and this has been attributed to higher prevalence of trachoma, conjunctivitis, and cataract among females than in males. Malnutrition is another factor that is associated with visual impairment and blindness. It is closely related not only with low vitamin A intake but also with infectious diseases of childhood, especially measles and diarrhea, which precipitate uh, malnutrition. In many cases, protein energy malnutrition is also associated with blindness. Severe corneal destruction due to vitamin A deficiency, that is keratomalacia, is largely limited to the first 4 to 6 years of life and is especially frequent among those 6 months to 3 years of life. Then certain occupations have an association or a link with visual impairment and blindness. People working in factories, workshops, and cottage industries are prone to eye injuries because of exposure to dust, airborne particles, flying objects, gases, fumes, radiations, usually welding flash, electrical flash, etc. Many workers, including doctors, are known to have developed premature cataracts while exposed to X rays, ultraviolet rays, or heat radiation. Social class is another one of the factors that is linked with the visual impairment and blindness. There is a close relationship between the incidence of blindness and socioeconomic status, and blindness is twice more prevalent in the poorer classes than in the well-to-do. Social factors such as going to quacks uh, that can result in blindness as well. Then there are ignorance and lack of education and poverty and low standard of personal and community hygiene and inadequate healthcare services. These are all social factors that are associated and that can result in visual impairment as well as blindness. So we have looked upon the problem statement of visual impairment and blindness, and we have seen that it is very prevalent in the whole of the world and in developed as well as developing countries. But the developing countries are the ones which have the higher burden of visual impairment and blindness. We have also discussed that many of the causes of visual impairment and blindness are not only treatable but also preventable, and we have seen that the blindness and visual impairment is prevalent in children as well as adults. So this begs the question that why do not we focus on its prevention and treatment? So of course, the world is now focusing on its prevention and treatment, and as it does, the concept of eye healthcare is also changing. How is it changing? Let's talk about that. Okay, first of all, primary eye care. In the newer concept, the primary eye care is included, and which envisages the inclusion of eye care component in primary healthcare system. You have studied about primary level of healthcare, where we have the we have also talked about the maternal and child health component of primary healthcare. So why not include eye healthcare in that as well? And this idea is one of the main ingredients of a primary healthcare approach to blindness, and it has rapidly gained acceptance the world over. And it is one of the models that can be adapted for the promotion and protection of eye health. The second part of changing concept in eye health care is epidemiological approach. It involves studies, the research and surveys at the population level. It focuses, among many other things, on the measurement of the incidence, the prevalence of disease, and the associated risk factors. The local epidemiological situation will determine the action needed. The other part is the team concept. In many developing countries, there is only one eye specialist for more than a million people. And this may be true in our part of the world as well. We do not have many ophthalmologists, and that gives space to quacks and worsens the problem. So, hence, we need to focus on a team concept. We do not have that many qualified ophthalmologists for our population. So healthcare now uses the support of auxiliary health personnel to fill many gaps. This gap can be filled by village health guides, ophthalmic assistants, multi-purpose workers, and voluntary agencies. You may have known that nowadays we have uh, many programs that are going on in our universities. I know that one is going on in Lahore, here in Faisalabad as well, in Medina University. Another one, I don't know, in Allied, where the auxiliary staff to help the ophthalmologists. There are optometrists are trained, and other such people are trained, which can then help in addressing the problems of visual impairment and blindness. The fourth part is establishment of national programs. You can start a program at national level to address the problems of visual impairment and blindness. And we have a program of administration of vitamin A drops. You know that with every polio drops, with every time polio drops are given to the kids, vitamin A is also given. So that is part of a national program. Similar national programs where eye camps can be established or any such thing uh, can be used. These can be initiated for the prevention and control of impairment, visual impairment, and blindness. So these are the changing concepts in eye healthcare. Let's look at now the prevention of blindness, how it can be achieved. The most important in prevention is the initial assessment, and this is the step to assess the magnitude, the geographic distribution, and causes of blindness within the country or community or region. And this is usually done by prevalence surveys or epidemiological methods. This knowledge is essential for setting priorities and development of appropriate intervention programs. Then there are methods of intervention. First of all, there is primary eye care. We have touched upon it a little bit. A wide range of eye conditions, for example, acute conjunctivitis, ophthalmia neonatorum, trachoma, special superficial foreign bodies, xerophthalmia. These can be treated and prevented at the grassroots level by locally trained primary health workers. And these locally trained primary health workers may be village health guides or multi-purpose workers. For this purpose, they are provided with essential drugs such as topical tetracycline, vitamin A capsules, eye bandages, shields, etc. They are also trained to refer the difficult cases to uh, nearest hospital, which may be a tertiary hospital or a specialized hospital for eye care. Secondary care for visual impairment and blindness involves definitive management of common conditions such as cataract, trichiasis, entropion, ocular trauma, and glaucoma. And this care is provided in primary healthcare centers and district hospitals where eye departments or eye clinics are established. The secondary care may involve the use of mobile eye clinics as well. The ICAM's approach to make cataract surgery available, it has been highly successful and has received a wide popular support. Not only cataract operations can be carried out here. These camps undertake general health surveys for the early detection of visual defects as well as education of the masses as well. But very important for these to be effective is the adequate follow-up and evaluation. The great advantage of this strategy is that it is problem specific and makes the best use of local resources and provides inexpensive eye care to the population at peripheral level. Then there is the tertiary care, and these services are usually established in the national or regional capitals and are often associated with medical colleges and institutes of medicine, and they provide sophisticated eye care such as retinal detachment surgery or corneal grafting and other complex forms of management which are not available in the secondary centers. And you people are fortunate in your college, IMC. There is eye department which is offering all these services. Then certain specific programs can be initiated for the prevention of blindness, and these include trachoma control, which involves endemic trachoma and associated infections, treatment, and mass campaigns with the topical tetracycline and the improvement of socioeconomic conditions are the areas which are focused upon in such a program. Then there may be school health services used for prevention of blindness. Another useful approach and here screening of school children for refractive errors can be done, which is very important. We know that many of that a major proportion of visual impairment in children is due to refractive errors. So that can be not only identified and screened in school health services, but also corrected. Then screening for squint or amblyopia or trachoma can be done here. Vitamin A prophylaxis program could be a part of a national program, and we have such a program in Pakistan. We know that vitamin A drops are given to the children, and it is integrated into the EPI, the expanded program of immunization. Then occupational eye health services should be there. This is another program that can be initiated for the prevention of blindness, and it is to prevent or treat eye hazards in industries. And the major part of it will be education, health education, and the use of protective devices in some occupations. For example, welding, where you have to wear the eye protection. Then there are certain long-term measures that can be adapted for the prevention of blindness, and these long-term measures also have a part to play in controlling eye infections, and these are aimed at improving the quality of life and modifying or attacking the factors responsible for the persistence of eye health problems. For example, poor sanitation, um, lack of adequate safe water supplies, little intake of food rich in vitamin A, lack of personal hygiene. Health education is an important long term measure in order to create community awareness of the problem. Finally, all these programs and measures they have to be evaluated, and evaluation should be an integral part of intervention programs to measure the extent to which ocular diseases and blindness have been alleviated, and assess the manner and degree to which program activities have been carried out, and determine the nature of other changes that may have been produced. So, Vision 2020, the right to sight, was a global initiative to eliminate avoidable blindness, and it was launched by WHO on 18th of February 1999. One significant way in which this initiative differed from previous ones is that the concept centered around the human rights issues. Recognition of sight as a fundamental human right by all countries was an important catalyst of initiative for the prevention and control of blindness. The objective of Vision 2020 was to assist member countries in developing sustainable systems which will enable them to eliminate avoidable blindness from major causes. For example, cataract, xerophthalmia, and other causes of childhood blindness. Thank you very much. Have a good day.